Welcome to Speakernomics, the official podcast of the National Speakers Association. Created by speakers for speakers. It's your fast track to sharper skills, bigger impact, and a smarter speaking business. Subscribe and download using the link below. And step into the spotlight.
It is time for the next episode of Speakernomics, and you are tuned in to listen to a great interview with Sam Richter. My name is Tom Singer, and I've been involved with Speakernomics from its very, very early days. And I love the fact that this show is the place for professional speakers, whether you're part of the National Speakers Association or not, to learn the insights that can help everyone grow a better speaking business and be better on the stage. So let's jump into today's interview with my friend, Sam Richter. Sam, welcome to the show.
I'm so honored. I love Speakernomics. I love the work you've been doing and just want to let you know how much I appreciate all that you do for the speaker community and really volunteering your time to help people become better speakers and grow a better speaker business. You are invaluable, Tom.
Well, that is very, very kind. But today is all about you. So for those of you who don't know Sam Richter, and if you're involved in the speaking community, I don't really know how you don't know Sam Richter. He is a CSP and he is a CPAE, which means he is a Hall of Fame keynote speaker. And his topic is all around authentic insights, which, if you think about that, actually stands for AI. So there's a great play on words going on there. And what he does is he teaches people how to use the technology and the tools that are out there to learn about people, to learn about companies, so that you can be very relevant in every single conversation that you have as you're trying to win more business. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Right. He is also one of the few speakers out there in this world of tech and AI who isn't just speaking about it, but he's actually creating tools that are being used not just by speakers, but by companies all around to make sure that they're improving the way they're dealing with people and the way they're doing their sales. So today, I want to talk to Sam about AI and sales.
All right.
So Sam, what are 2 tips you have for speakers when it comes to AI and sales?
Well, I think the first one is don't rely on AI for your sales. It still comes down to having a relationship, picking up the phone. We're all looking for a magic silver bullet, like push a button and all of a sudden leads are going to come flowing in, booking contracts are going to just start flowing into my inbox. And it doesn't work that way, obviously. I think where we use AI is to understand where there are opportunities, find those opportunities, create efficiency in our sales process, and most important, use it to customize your pitch and customize your presentation so you win more deals.
So that's the first tip. What's the second tip?
The second tip is really tied into that, is there are some ways to use generative AI and also plain old Google, plain old LinkedIn to find those tools. So it's really understanding prompt engineering and how to craft the right prompt, how to put the right information into these tools so you get the right information out of it.
Awesome. Well, what I want to do is dive into that first tip, which is don't rely on AI when it comes to doing your sales. And yet, everybody else we're hearing from is rely on AI, buy this tool, use this tool. So let's dive into that. So let's talk about the positives of why you use it first, and then let's talk about why not to rely on it.
Yeah. Again, it's a tool. It's a resource. Nobody's ever called and booked a machine, right? They book me. They want to talk to me. They want to understand my energy. They want to know that I care about their success, that I understand the difference between an event planner booking me and a CEO booking me. So really using it to do your research, do your homework. AI is exceptional for that. Now, there's also all the back end. So for example, right when we're done with this call, because I've been doing sales calls all day and coding some new tools, I'm way behind on my email. So I'll be logging into Copilot. Within Copilot, I'll select Claude and I'll ask it, hey, what are the emails that I've missed over the last 2 days that are really important that I need to answer right now? And so that's a great use of AI, kind of almost being my virtual assistant. I'll use AI to research the people I'm calling on the rest of the day. I'll use AI to understand their conference, find decision makers. But ultimately, it still comes down to the human being doing the work, reaching out and closing the deal.
So you said something that's interesting, and that is being aware in how you present yourself. I'm using my own words, whether you're having an event planner book you
Yeah.
or a CEO book you. So what is those differences, and how can AI help you present yourself to each of those audiences?
Yeah, great question. An event planner typically, and again, I'm generalizing here, so meaning I'm right, probably right 51% of the time, probably wrong 49% of the time. But in general, an event planner is not looking to hit a home run. They're not looking, their goal is not to hire a great speaker. I mean, if it happens, that's awesome. But their goal is to not hire a bad speaker, because event planners, most, again, generalizing, probably don't get promoted for hiring an awesome speaker. But I'm sure there's been some who have been fired
Oh,
for
I've seen
booking a bad speaker.
I've seen someone yelled at, not because
Yeah,
of me, but because the speaker before me was so bad that the CEO yelled at the meeting planner in front of like 8 people. And then he turns to me and goes, "You have to save my conference," and stormed away. So it does happen.
it does. And I think just understanding that when you're selling to an event planner, your goal on the phone with them is to reduce risk. Obviously, relevance. Obviously, you understand their business. Obviously, you have a topic they're interested in. But you also want to, and we can discuss this in a little bit. There's a formula I follow. It's called Them Must Fit Proof. It's from the Summit Group. But Them Must Fit Proof. It basically, who are they? Who are you? What do you bring to the table? Is it a fit? Can you help them achieve their goals more efficiently, effectively, profitably than they can do on their own? Prove it to me. When I'm speaking to an event planner, the prove it to me part is really important. Who have I spoken to in the past? Give me some references. Give me some names. Now, a CEO is completely different. A CEO who might be booking me might be, I'll use AI to determine what are their most likely 3 core strategic initiatives they're dealing with. I'll even ask the AI. I'll ask it to run a summary about the company, find recent news, might use Perplexity for that, run some recent news, tell me all about, and then I'll have an interaction. AI is not Google. We're not using it to just get an answer. We're using it to have a conversation. So I'll have a conversation. I'll even tell it, hey, I'm meeting with the CEO this afternoon. I'm going to be speaking, pitching them about my generative AI keynote. If you were the CEO of this company, knowing what you know, what would be 3 areas of concern that you have as it relates to generative AI? So I'll actually have a conversation with generative AI, ask generative AI to be the CEO and almost do a role play. And obviously with voice mode on any of these models, you can actually do a role play. So, you prepare for the meeting.
So it's interesting when you talk about having a conversation with AI. I think this is something that a lot of people, even people who think that they're seasoned users of AI tools, don't realize that sometimes we use it too much like Google. We ask a question, we take the answer. But what I've found is if I can ask 3, 4, 5 clarifying questions, then I get the real unique part of the strategy. So what do you talk about? Let's talk a little bit more about having conversations with the AI before you're having conversations with the CEO. In addition to a role play, what else can people do?
Well, it's a great question, Tom. And what I'm about to say, you're going to get a lot of different opinions on. I'll just tell you what works for me. The conceptually, it's called prompt engineering. I like to tell my audiences, forget about the technical term. You need to treat this like a human being. You need to treat it like an intern. Now, this intern is the smartest intern in the history of the world, right? It's got more knowledge than every article, book, video, audio file in the Library of Congress, every library on the globe combined. But it doesn't have a lot of wisdom. What's the difference? I read this once. I wish I had written this because I think it's great. But I read this once and I wish I could tell you who I read it from. I don't remember. But they said knowledge is knowing that scientifically a tomato is classified as a fruit. Wisdom is knowing that, hey, if you're in charge of getting the fruit salad ready for this weekend's party, you don't put tomatoes in the fruit salad. So you got this incredibly smart intern, but you got to guide it. The first thing you do is give it a persona. And again, you're going to have other people tell you that this is not important. I believe it is. Because if you think of generative AI, I mean, any system, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. We can talk about what that is later. But the pre-trained part is really important, meaning it's pre-trained on a unique set of data. ChatGPT is trained on everything from chocolate chip cookie recipes to open heart surgery and everything in between. So if you give it a persona, theoretically, you're telling it to only focus on the data that it's trained on related to that persona. So I might say, hey, today you are an expert marketing executive and sales executive with expertise in working with professional speakers. So now I've kind of told it, this is the trained data I want you to focus on. And then I give it a conversation. And I use the guide framework, which is a little framework I created. Everybody has their own framework. I'm also required by law to have an acronym, as a professional speaker.
As a professional speaker, you need more than one acronym.
Oh, I do. I have multiple acronyms. But the guide framework's pretty simple. So you give it a persona, you tell it who it is, and then you give it a guide framework. G stands for goal. So goal. Today, you are going to be role-playing with me. First, we are going to research a company to learn everything that we can find about the company, and you are going to be the CEO of that organization as we have some conversations. You is us. Tell me who it is. Tell the system who you are. Who is us? Professional speaker, here's what I speak about. I is who's my intended audience. In this example, my intended audience is me. I'm going to be doing this role play. You're going to be having it with me. D, how do I like my information delivered? I will be delivering, and usually in there we might give some examples, but I might say in this example, I might say, please deliver results in like you were a CEO answering questions. E, in which environment is this information going to be received? I'm going to be ultimately having a conversation over Zoom with the CEO. And then I will launch into it. I'll say the first thing I want you to do, and this is really important, don't overwhelm your intern. You got to give it time to process something. And so I'll say we're going to take this step by step. The first step is for you to research the company. The company I'll be meeting with today is Acme Corporation. So I might start it that way. And then it's just a conversation. Also, at the end of every prompt, not the whole session, but actually at the end of every one of the prompts that I type in. So I might say, let's start out with you researching Acme Corporation. At the end, it's just muscle memory. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any questions. You talked about further clarification, same thing. If you don't do that, remember GPT, G is generative. These systems are designed to make something up. That's their goal. And if you don't allow it to ask questions, it will make something up. It will make something up that's and sound very confident. So at the end, muscle memory, do you have any questions?
I found the idea of asking it before it gives me an answer to ask me 2 or 3 clarifying questions, one at a time. Don't ask the next one until I've given an answer.
Oh, yes.
Changes the game.
It absolutely does. Yeah. So. And nothing eliminates hallucinations, but that tends to really take the guesswork out of your conversation.
So I talked to one really smart person in the finance world who was against AI for a long time, and he now uses it. And I said, wait a minute, what's the big change here, Mr. Math finance brain? And he said, at first, I didn't use it because it didn't seem necessary for what we did. He goes, now it speeds up a lot of time. He goes, however, we treat it like we've hired the best ever employee who's been doing this longer than anybody else.
Absolutely.
However, he or she is on LSD. Meaning we have to double check everything that it does. We don't trust everything. We know we're getting the best information possible, but it's on mushrooms, and we have to be sure that we know that the hallucinations could happen.
Yeah, I call it the 85% rule. That use AI to get you 85% of the way there, but you have the wisdom. You have the experience. If you look at a piece of data, and it just doesn't feel right to you, it's probably not right. Ask it a question. Again, it's a conversation. You'll say, hey, where did you get that data from? That just doesn't sound right. And oftentimes it'll be, oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Richter. You're right. I do have my intern call me Mr. Richter, just so you know. You're so right, Mr. Richter. I apologize. I was answering too quickly. Something that it's really important for everybody to remember. Claude, ChatGPT, Copilot, they of course want you to get a good answer. But their goal is to get you the good answer as fast as they can, because the longer the conversation, the more it costs them money. And so it's okay to push back and say, hey, you're going too fast here. Slow down. Take your time. Go back and research this again.
Nice. Well, this is a great transition to the second half of the first tip, which was don't rely on AI. Use it to augment. What should we be doing when it comes to sales, when we're not relying on AI?
Pick up the phone and call people. Send 3 emails a day. Send 5 emails a day. Link with 5 people. It's still a relationship-based business. We can try to automate that. And goodness knows, I have tools. I have automation tools for my newsletters, for my suspect outreach versus prospect outreach. I automate a lot of things. But when I'm reaching out to an individual prospect, maybe I haven't heard from them in a while, maybe I got a referral, that's a personal phone call and a personal email. Tom, one of the, I have a lot of different tools. And sometimes I'll get emails from somebody saying, your tool doesn't work. It's not getting me what I want. And I don't argue with people, but sometimes people forget that anything that's digital, I can see what's going on. And it's like, yeah, of course it's not working for you, because if you've used it 3 times in the last 46 days, it's not going to do it. So I believe that the more people use AI to fake customize emails, you get them all the time, I'm sure.
Every day.
As a best-selling author, have you ever thought about becoming a speaker? It's like, dude, just come on, right?
My favorite is when I get those emails as a speaker that says, "Have you ever thought about writing a book?" Yes. I like to reply, "Yes, I've written 12."
12, right. Or you can tell they're just sucking, as a best-selling author, Hall of Fame speaker from SBR Worldwide. Like, nobody talks that way. Right. But my point is
SBR Worldwide is your holding company based on your initials. I've never heard anyone refer to you as that.
No. So, the more we're inundated with fake personalization, and frankly, the more we're inundated with, because sometimes fake personalization is really good, right? I think the more we're going back to Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People in the 1920s, people are massively passionate about themselves. Spend a little time, learn about them. I've got a number of free tools on all these things that I can talk about if you're interested on how to do that, but really understand the other person.
Well, and we don't want this to be a commercial, but I think that's a good idea, because the second tip that you have is really, how do we use the research tools? And when I think of the world of speakers, I put you in the tippy top layer of people who have really, longer than we've even had generative AI or longer than we've had GPTs, you were actually working on how do we farm information? How do we have research tools? You've been doing research tools for a decade. So let's go ahead and talk about those a little bit, because I know you give away free samples. We're not selling your tools, but let's talk about what's out there, yours and others, and how do people use them correctly?
Well, I'll start out with some 100% free, not trials, just go use them. The first tool is it's a number of tools I put on a website called You Got Intel, YOUGOTINTEL, yougotintel.com. Some of the features you'll find there is a really powerful news search engine. So Google News is awesome, but Google News misses a lot. It misses trade journals, it misses local newspapers. So that will find information. There's You Got Associations. Go research associations. It'll tell you what their budgets are. There's You Got Sites. You Got Sites finds the hidden pages inside websites. So you can go in and type in 3m.com events, 3m.com conferences, and it will find you all the internal conferences that are being mentioned on their websites. Why are we doing that? Because the key is relevance. If I call someone at 3M and say, "Oh, hey, I'm wondering if you guys are doing any conferences this year and hiring speakers," delete. "Hey, I was doing some research online and I see that you have a sales conference coming up in your innovation area on June 17th of 2027. My guess is you're probably thinking of your speakers right now. The reason I'm reaching out is I recently spoke about innovation. So I made that up off the top of my head. But you see the difference? So you're using those kinds of tools. There's a tool in there called GPT Follow-Up, gptfollowup.com. It's also free, that helps you find articles, and then it helps you craft customized and personalized emails based on what the other person cares about. It will find research reports. Now, and again, all of these tools, you're using them to get you 85% of the way there. I will never build a tool that has a send button. It will have a copy button. It will have an export button. But I'm a big believer in copying, putting it in an Outlook, reading it, maybe changing some words around, So those are some absolute free tools. Another one that people might really like, as we were talking about prompting, is I built a tool called You Got Prompts, YOUGOTPROMPTS, YouGotPrompts.com. That's also completely free. I don't use this all the time. I'll use if I use a grading scale like A, B, C, D, F, most people, including me, write F level prompts. An F level prompt. I need a recipe for a chocolate chip cookie.
With no tomatoes.
Right? With no tomatoes. A D level prompt would be something like following the guide framework we went through earlier. Now, D level prompts are better than, I'm going to guess, 90% of people on the planet, maybe 95%. Most people are writing F level prompts. The guide framework gets you a D level prompt. What You Got Prompts does, and you use this when you're writing a proposal. You need help with a contract. You need help with a new idea. You need help with a new exercise that you're going to be delivering at the conference. That's where you use You Got Prompts. A really good prompt, Tom, might be between 300 and 1,000 words long. And so that's what it does. So those are all free tools. They'll always be free that people can go in and use and hopefully help with their prospecting and even their prompting.
I want to make sure that everybody heard what you just said. A really good prompt will have 300 to 1,000 words.
Yeah.
And yet, I bet most speakers who are listening to this have 12 words in a prompt.
Yeah. And you know what? These systems are getting smarter all the time. And I subscribe to so many newsletters where I get to listen to experts. And some people will tell you the exact opposite I'm saying. That, Claude Fable is so good. You just put in a 12-word prompt and it'll assume what you want. I don't know. I still get better results using You Got Prompts. Again, I don't use that all the time. I use it when it's something really complex, something really deep. Then I'll use it. But, again, everyone's going to have their opinions. These are just free tools that I make available to people. And hopefully they're helpful. Typically what happens, Tom, is I build them for me and I'm like, well, that's pretty good. I'll make that available for everybody else.
And you've been very generous to a lot of speakers by always talking about these things. Now, one product that you have, and you do give a free trial to this, is the Sam Richter Intel Engine. I don't think there's anyone in NSA who hasn't heard of it. And it's a great tool. I've used it, but I'm the guy who uses it 3 times in 300 days, right? So when it comes to any of these tools, whether it's tools from you, tools from other people, what do we have to do to get the most out of them?
Well, that's a great question. By the way, the trial for that is speakerIntelEngine.com and then / whatever. It's a slash trial, TRIAL. So people can go and use that. The big thing is figure out what works best for you. So one of my problems when I build technology, and some of the newer things are actually I pull features out of it. The Speaker Intel Engine has so much in it that it can be a little confusing sometimes. So there's a really good, I think it's a 12-minute video that shows exactly how to use it. But figure out what you want out of it. So for example, in the Intel Engine, there's an area called Topic GPT, where you can put in your topic, your industry, the location you want to speak, and it will go out and it will find conferences at larger venues that are at least 6 months from today's date, where the system believes a paid speaker might be. So it eliminates those scientific conferences in those sorts of places. And the other one in there that I use all the time is Speaker Recon. So, hey, as I like to joke, and this is not original either. I heard this from another speaker. I wish I could remember who it was. But I'm a huge fan of the First Amendment. I just don't like the free speech part. I like to get paid for my speeches. So hey, I know that, Tom, you're the same way. So if I can find out where you spoke, then probably those people pay their speakers. And, I know that you've had multi-year contracts, but most likely they hired you last year. Maybe they'd be interested in me this year.
Yeah.
So I'll use Speaker Recon to find out where good speakers have spoken, because that really cuts down on my research.
So you bring up another interesting point that's a little bit off topic, but I think super important when we're talking about sales and long-term relationships and the people side of this business. And that is, a few of us get brought back every now and then. For me, it was mostly MC work. They'll use me for 3, 4, 5 years. But I think when did I start this thing full time? 2009. So it gives me 17 years, 18 years of doing this. I think I've been brought back to keynote for the same organization two or three times. Not like a private company is different, because like a law firm will hire me to speak at the partner retreat, and then they'll bring me back to speak to the senior associates, and they'll bring me back to speak to the junior associates, because they rotate their conferences every year. So it's a different audience in the company. But from associations, I've probably been brought back twice. Yeah. And one thing I know you do, and I know I learned this from Ross Bernstein, is Ross taught me when I was a brand new baby speaker, and I know you're his best friend. You guys do this together.
Yeah.
At the end of the conference, he says, look, now that I've spoken with your company, I've gotten to know it. I know two things are true. Number one, you're going to have this conference next year. And number two, you probably don't want the same keynoter. So can I make a recommendation of 1, 2, 3 speakers I think would be great for your team? So how important is that to growing the relationship with the client and growing relationships with other speakers?
Well, Tom, if AI went away tomorrow, if social media went away tomorrow, if email went away tomorrow, I'd still have a successful business because of that.
Yeah.
You know, so many people spend hours and hours and hours on social media, LinkedIn posts and videos and TikToks, and they get a lot of views, but they don't have a lot of business. And so the biggest thing you can do is do it for others. You know, for example, Allison Massari recently, kindest, sweetest,
absolutely the best soul of anybody in the speaker world.
Yeah. So she referred me to somebody. I'm going to do the same to her. Now, shame on me for not doing it earlier. But and you know what? We don't keep score. I don't want referral fees. I don't want commissions. I just want karma.
So, you know, this brings up a really interesting thing. When you bring up Allison, I'm talking about you and Ross. The next name that came to mind is one time I referred Manley Feinberg to a really good thing. It was one of the
Manley's amazing.
It was one of the things he wanted. He spent the next year on a mission to get me a gig, and he referred me and referred me and referred me and referred me. In addition to sending me a gift certificate to my favorite restaurant, he also really worked to repay that favor. But as I'm thinking of the names, Carrie Lorenz is a great referrer. When I think about the people who are great referrers, it also seems that a large percentage of them are in the Hall of Fame, which is fascinating to me. I've never thought about that till this exact moment. How many, Jessica Pettit, how many people in the Hall of Fame also refer other speakers to their clients? Think there's a connection to that?
100%. And like I said, okay, maybe we need email. We'll still need a phone, but I can not do anything on social media. Think of the time you would save if all you did was every morning you referred 3 speakers. And then let's say you did that, and it's not the same 3. So right. Over a year, you might have referred 300 speakers. And now all of a sudden, not everyone's going to return the favor, but let's say 200 of those speakers are referring you to 6 gigs. Right now, all of a sudden, I've got 12. So 200, 6 gigs, that's 1,200 leads. And not cold leads. These are warm leads. Like, hey, Ross told you I'm your guy. Tom told you I'm your guy. I can pick up the phone and call those people. Don't use AI. Use AI to research the company so I know what I'm talking about before I pick up the phone. But think of that. I mean, and I like to joke, Tom, with 1,200 leads, not cold, 1,200 qualified leads where I have an intro. I know they pay their speakers. If I can't get 50 gigs out of that a year, I suck. Okay, let's just be blunt.
So even if your numbers are off, if I got not 1,200 leads or whatever number you said, if I got 20 leads that were legit, I have a close ratio of between 1 and 3.5. So let's say I close 5 of those. For my business, I have a great little lifestyle business. 5 new gigs, that's a big chunk of what I want to do every year. Yeah. So fascinatingly so, it doesn't even have to be the numbers you just said. If you refer a lot of people and only, 12 of them give you legit referrals, you get 5 gigs. That's a home run out of the park. So what I find interesting, we started off saying, we're going to talk about AI and how to get business. And in the end, we're closing it with, be good to other speakers, be good to your clients, be good to people, and you're going to get more business.
Yeah,
So Sam, wrap this all up for us.
Yeah, AI, let's not minimize it. I mean, we were talking before we jumped on here. Like, I'll use Copilot, I'll use Claude within Copilot to tell me which of the emails I have missed today that I need to respond. I'll use Claude to help me write code. I'll use Copilot to help me have like literally put on a headset and have a conversation with financial statements of the boards I sit on. So it makes me absolutely so much more efficient. I've got a writing tool I've developed, Write 85 is the name of it, that saves me at least 2.5 hours a day. But it's what you do with that efficiency. So now I can have more time to develop more programs, do more referrals, do more phone calls, do what actually matters. So we're leveraging AI to become more efficient so we can grow our business. We're not thinking that AI is some magic button tool that I can push and all of a sudden I'm going to start getting signed contracts floating into my inbox.
God, I wish I had a magic button that I could push.
Oh, it's coming. It's coming.
Well, Sam Richter, thank you so much for being a guest on Speakernomics. It's my honor to be able to interview you. We've been friends a long, long time, but to sit here and be able to be interviewing you makes me very happy.
Well, you're the best, and I appreciate, again, all you've done for the speaking community. So thank you.
Well, and I don't know that I'm supposed to publicly announce this, but this is going to be my last interview for Speakernomics. Like I said, I started the show. I hosted it for 2 years. I came back after Shark died to host it for 10 weeks to keep it going. And then I've been one of the rotating hosts, but it's time for me to give the chair to somebody else. And so thank you for being my final guest. I imagine NSA will bring me back maybe to do some interviews from time to time. But as far as permanent rotation, I get to go out with a bang because I got to interview Sam Richter.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you. And again, thank you for the amazing job you've done.
And thank you to everybody who listened. You know, as I said when we started, Speakernomics is the show for professional speakers. So are you sharing this? Talking about sharing good things with your friends. Are you reaching out to every single speaker you know, especially if they're not part of NSA, and telling them, listen to Speakernomics, because this interview with Sam could change your business. Thanks. We'll see you back next week right here on Speakernomics.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Speakernomics. If you want more bookings, credibility, and connections, your NSA community is waiting for you. Join NSA today. Click the link below and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and download this podcast wherever you listen.